120% still not enough. Champions League Final Tactical Review. The 2026 Champions League Final. Arsenal vs PSG. Two teams playing radically different versions of football. One built on control and structure. The other built on individual brilliance and moments. Arsenal lined up in their standard 4-3-3. Raya in goal. A back four of Mosquera, Saliba, Gabriel, and Luis Skelly. Midfield three of Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz. Front three of Saka, Gyökeres, and Trossard. Wait, Havertz in midfield. Arteta made one call that raised eyebrows. Instead of starting Gyökeres at center forward with Havertz in midfield, he flipped it. Havertz up top, Gyökeres on the bench. Same 4-3-3 shape on paper. Completely different function. PSG came out in their usual 4-3-3 as well. Safanov in goal. Hakimi and Mendes at fullback. Marquinhos and Beraldo in central defense. A midfield three of Neves, Vitinha, and Fabian Ruiz. Front three of Dembele, Barcola, and Kvaratskhelia. 2-4-3-3s. Two completely different ideas of football. 5 minutes. Goal. Kai Havertz. Arsenal's opening goal came from exactly the pattern Arteta designed. A patient build-up through the thirds, Rice dropping between the centre-backs to create a back three in possession. This is Arsenal's signature rest defense structure. Rice as the pivot allows both fullbacks to push high, effectively making the formation a 3-2-5 in attack. PSG's 4-3-3 press was disjointed. Their front three pressed high, but the midfield three didn't step up with them. Massive gaps appeared between the lines. Havertz exploited exactly this space, drifting between Marquinhos and Beraldo, receiving between the lines and finishing. Classic Arteta positional play. For the next 40 minutes, Arsenal suffocated PSG. Arsenal's out-of-possession shape was a compact 4-4-2 mid-block. Saka and Trossard tucked in narrow. Havertz and Odegaard formed the first line of pressure. The distance between Arsenal's back line and front line was never more than 25 meters. This is the Arteta principle. Compress the pitch, force the opponent wide, win the ball back. PSG had zero answers. Their build-up through Neves and Vitinha was repeatedly funneled into wide areas where Arsenal's pressing traps were set. Dembele, Ballon d'Or winner, by the way, touched the ball maybe 15 times in the first half. Every time he received it, Luis Skelly showed him outside onto his weaker foot, forced him into low-percentage crosses. Nothing. Raya made one meaningful save all half. PSG's XG at halftime was 0.3. Arsenal's was 1.7. This wasn't a contest. It was a tactical clinic. Second half started differently. Luis Enrique adjusted. PSG's wingers inverted more aggressively. Kvaratskhelia started coming inside into the half spaces, dragging Mosquera with him. This created the overload that eventually won the penalty. The penalty itself, Mosquera caught on a yellow card. Kvaratskhelia cutting inside onto his right foot. Mosquera's trailing leg clips him. Soft, maybe, but Mosquera gave the referee a decision to make. Yellow. Penalty. Arteta's first tactical response. Timber on for Mosquera. Then Gyökeres. Two strikers against PSG's back four. Arteta switched to something approaching a 4-2-4 in attack. Havertz and Gyökeres both central. Saka and Trossard hugging the touchlines. This pinned PSG's fullbacks deep. Marquinhos and Beraldo now had to deal with two bodies in the box instead of one. The tactical tilt was clear. Arsenal's 4-2-4 overloaded PSG's 4-3-3 centrally. PSG couldn't play through because Arsenal's two-man midfield of Rice and Odegaard was screening the back four perfectly. Everything PSG tried went sideways. Arsenal finished regulation time with 58% possession, 14 shots to PSG's 7, and a higher XG. But the scoreboard said 1-1. Extra time followed the same pattern. Arsenal pushed, PSG survived. Maduk came on too late to make a real difference. That's one Arteta substitution that didn't come off. When the whistle blew, it was penalties. And this is where the tactical analysis ends and the psychology begins. Safanov versus Raya in goal. This wasn't close. Safanov is 6'6", Raya is 6'0". That wingspan difference. In a penalty shootout, it covers an extra half meter of goal. Safanov's technique, stay central, stay big, force the taker to pick a perfect corner. Raya's technique, guess early, commit fully. Neither is wrong. One is better suited for shootouts. Second penalty. Ease versus Safanov. Earlier, Gyökeres had hammered his penalty. Safanov moved early. Gyökeres adjusted and scored. Smart. Ease steps up expecting the same. But Safanov changes his approach completely. Stands still. Doesn't budge. Ease sees a giant keeper who hasn't moved. Now he has to go for the absolute corner. Has to. Puts it wide. This is the exact same psychology Emi Martinez used against Coman in the 2022 World Cup final. Same pattern. Same result. Final penalty. Gabriel, a centre-back versus Safanov. Same approach from the keeper. No movement. Gabriel has one option. Hit it as hard as possible. Clearance style. Into the stands. Arsenal's penalty takers weren't bad. PSG's were better. And PSG had the better penalty goalkeeper. That's not luck. That's squad construction. 120% Arsenal dragged 80% PSG to penalties and still lost. Flip those numbers. 80% Arsenal against 100% PSG. PSG win in 90 minutes. The attacking quality gap was visible every time PSG counterattacked. Kvaratskhelia, playing on a visibly injured right leg, still created the foul that won the penalty. Barcola hit the post, nearly scored a one-on-one. Dembele was invisible for 80 minutes and still had moments that made Arsenal's backline panic. Compared to Arsenal, Saka had 2 clear chances in the second half, wasted both. Against PSG you don't get 5 or 6 looks. You get 2. You have to make them count. Odegaard worked relentlessly, tracked back, carried the ball through midfield, created overloads on the right, but he can't finish chances he's not getting. Arteta's game management has evolved enormously. Compare this to the League Cup final a few months ago. That day was panic moves and tactical confusion. Tonight was controlled, calculated, world-class from the dugout. But Arsenal simply aren't ready to win the Champions League yet. And that's not a criticism, it's an observation about how these things work. Klopp's Liverpool lost their first Champions League final. Pep's Manchester City lost their first Champions League final in spectacular fashion, with Pep famously starting without a defensive midfielder. Remember that lineup? Still can't get over it. No Rodri in a Champions League final against Chelsea, who had Kante. Arsenal's path tells the same story. Quarter-finals, semi-finals, final, step by step, real progress. 3 second-place Premier League finishes before finally winning it. The Champions League is harder, a lot harder. Might take a few second places there too. Sieber, not good enough for this level. Trossard pulled down by Hakimi, nothing. Saka cleanly wins the ball off Neves, whistle, foul. The penalty call on Mascara was correct, to be fair. Maduk in the box in extra time was 50-50. At that stage of a final, caution is understandable. Siebert's problem is rigidity. Everything by the textbook. No feel for the flow of a game. No wonder he never gets a World Cup appointment. Arsenal's back line, Gabriel, Saliba, Raya, delivered career-defining seasons. That defensive unit kept PSG to 0.3 xg in the first half of a Champions League final. This team won the Premier League. That's not a consolation prize. That's 2 decades of work finally paying off. But the Champions League demands a different level of attacking firepower. PSG had Kvaratskhelia, Barcola, Dembele, and a penalty goalkeeper who changes games. Arsenal had Havertz playing the game of his life and still couldn't get over the line. The gap is clear. Summer is here. Go sign a proper attacker. For real this time. Season over. Premier League champions. That's real. That parade is real. But the Champions League? Not yet. Not quite yet.